You're listening to The Women in the Arena. I'm your host, Paige and former collegiate athlete turned leadership entrepreneur for women just like you. Each week, I'm bringing you a new person or message to help you expand and elevate into the woman you know you're meant to be. Now, let's step into the arena. Okay, you guys, this is The Women in the Arena, and we get to interview Courtney Deifel, which is so exciting for me for a variety of reasons. But for those of you that don't know, Courtney Deifel is the winningest head coach in Arkansas softball program history. She's led the program to 2 regular season SEC championships, a tournament championship. And if you're in the softball world listening to this, that's old news. You already know what she's building in Arkansas. But even more than that, she is such an incredible leader. She's a supportive wife and she's a loving mom to 2 perfect little boys. And so I've just been in awe of how you lead from the moment I met you. And so when I was building out my list of women I wanted to interview, you were the obvious first choice. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. Now that I'm in tears to start, I thought you were going to say that I was the reason that you were in Fayetteville. And then you pivoted towards the softball accolades. But I think one of my bigger accomplishments is that Paige Williams lives in Fayetteville because of me and the Arkansas Razorbacks. And my little boys are far from perfect. So you are very generous in your opening statement.
Well, you know what? I actually was going to start with, do you remember our first phone call?
Nope.
I know you were pretty busy at the time trying to build a program and stuff, but I'll never forget on our first phone call, I was sitting in my bedroom in Wilmington and I asked you if you needed writing samples. And that's how little I knew about what a director of operations does.
Did I just kindly say no? What did I do? Not so kindly? What did I say?
No, you were so nice. I mean, you convinced me to come to Arkansas. I mean, I remember verbatim, you were like, we're actually just looking for people we trust and we don't need any of your writing samples.
And we'll work through any flaws you have writing later.
So that was really, really cool. And for anybody that doesn't know, I got to work for Courtney for 8 years, 7 seasons. And when I took the job, I thought, well, I'm young, I can do anything for a year. And then it lasted for a really long time. So it's just really cool what you've been able to build and what you've been able to do here. So can you share a little bit about really what inspired you? Because I know that you didn't set out to be a softball coach, but will you share a little bit about the journey? Because I think it's really important for other women to hear what accomplishments women in the arena are doing because it gives them permission to do the same.
Yeah, I think that when people ask about my journey to getting here, it wasn't a straight line. And although it's worked out really well, it's not at all what I had planned. Even going through college or after college, I went to Berkeley. I played a long time ago and played after college. And even at that point, a lot of my college friends were just kind of like, you are not the one I thought would play. But I think the best thing that I did in my life and in my playing career and my profession is just say yes to opportunity. And so when I wasn't sure what would be next at the end of Cal and this opportunity to play in Japan came up, I was like, yeah, why not? I kind of go in with not everything has to be permanent, so I'll go try it and we'll see. Kind of like you said, I can do anything for a year. I'll go try it. And then I just thought that I was going to work with people. I knew that I wanted to work with people. I wanted to make a difference. And when I finished in Japan, I went to grad school to get my master's because my mom is one of the strongest women that I know and one of the most stubborn, if you know her, Leslie, known for her stubbornness. But she was always a big advocate for my sister and me to get our master's and to use softball to do it because we poured so much into it. And she always wanted to make sure we had it. So I went and worked at the University of Oklahoma with Patty Gasso. And initially it was like, well, do you want to coach? I'm like, no, I want to do social work. I want to work with people. I want to make a difference in their lives. And she's the one that said, well, that's what coaching is. You have a chance to work with these young women in the most impressionable time of their life and grow them up. You get them as girls almost, and you get to grow them up to women and get them ready to take on the world. And I had never looked at it through that lens. And when you're in college softball or college athletics, you only look through the lens that you have. It's like, no matter what, you just look through your own lens. And when you are able to get out and see behind the curtain and see the bigger picture and see the bigger purpose, there's just so much more to it. She really opened my eyes to what this profession could be. Even though I've grown up around coaches and been around them, you can really make an impact at a really critical time in a woman's life. Actually, okay, so I spoke at this thing this morning and they asked, what's the biggest impact that you can have on your athletes? And I said, I want them to find their voice and their strength. And that looks different for everybody, but through their time here, like I want them to find their voice and be ready to tackle the world as really strong, confident women. And hopefully we can help them accomplish that in their time here.
No, I think that you said it perfectly. And that's one of the reasons that I was so excited to work for you for so long, was because I felt like I could be exactly who I was too. And I think all of the staff dynamics are always so different. But one of the things that I remember too that I want to circle back to is like at the end of that first year, I could see you like getting nervous. You're like, what is she going to bring up? At the end of that first year, I asked you, I said, were you nervous that I could fulfill the director of operation position? Because you hadn't had one on staff and I hadn't been in that role ever. And I want to know if you remember that conversation.
Well, we've had a lot of different conversations. I don't remember that one per se, but I would imagine my answer was no.
Yeah.
Then I say no. I wasn't nervous that you could do it. I'm a big believer in people. And like you kind of said that earlier, and one of the best lessons I got along the way from Carol Bruggeman, who's brilliant, is like you just never go wrong with great people. And so I don't know exactly how that conversation went. I would say, I would hope it went something like, no, I wasn't nervous.
No, it just speaks to the nuggets and bits and pieces that I picked up from working with you and in our friendship. And one of those was you said, I was more concerned with my ability to lead you. And I think that that was really cool because you didn't talk about like my shortcomings or opportunities where I had to grow, which, you know, those were all very fresh on my mind after year one. But instead, you just talked about like leading me. And so I felt like, oh gosh, now I want to do even more so she doesn't feel like she can't lead me. And so I thought that was really cool. And I love your leadership style in that way. And one of the other impactful things that you said to me too, that I remember, we were actually walking to Jones Center and we were going for lunch and we were talking about how you're a mom and you're also in a really high profile job that requires a lot of your time and attention. And you said, well, you never know what you can do until you're doing it. And I felt like that was always so powerful. And that really landed with me because it's so easy to come up with those excuses or those reasons why you can't do something versus the reasons why you can. And a lot of times you can't see those reasons. So I'm just wondering if you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that that's probably a opportunity area for most women, is to just go for it. I feel like we're always trying to find the reason maybe that we're not good enough or that we won't be able to do it. I was given this example when I was earlier in my coaching career, and it's like, if there was a posting for a job and the job said you need to have these 10 characteristics, and a female would look at it and be like, oh, I have 8 of them. I might have 10, but I don't know if they consider that. I don't think I could do it. And a male would look at it and have 2 of the 10 and be like, I am made for this job. Like they would be lucky to have me. And so I just think that that's kind of the mindset that we all kind of just have, and we need to break that cycle a little bit. But yeah, I think that women in general are superhuman. And I think that we can juggle more. We can handle more on our plate. We can do a lot more than we ever give ourselves credit for. And we just need to let ourselves try things. And I know that's something that's in my profession, is that you talk to young women who want to be coaches, but they're like, but I want to be a mom and I want to have a family and I want to be married. And I just don't think I can do all of that. And it's like, well, have you tried it? Because until you've tried it, you have no idea what you're capable of doing. And I got that advice young because I was guilty of that too. I was like, well, I want to get married and have a family. Like, how is that going to work? This job is way too demanding. And it is very demanding. And so is being a wife or a spouse and being a mom and doing all of those things. It's all very demanding, and we're all very, very capable of doing it. We just need to give ourselves a lot more credit because women are superhuman. They can handle it.
Amen to that. I knew you would have so much good information.
Oh, geez.
If you guys know her, she's cringing that I'm saying all this. But going back to the job interview example, or deciding whether you're qualified enough for a job and the difference between men and women, Michael actually said something to me one time that I thought was really impactful. He talked about how women are socialized to be cooperative and men are socialized to be competitive. And that really stuck with me because I found that that was a little bit of an answer of the clients that I work with, because I'm like, why is using your voice so challenging for you? And why is standing up for yourself so challenging? And I think a lot of it is because it feels like a rewiring in how we were socialized. And I think it's so important. And so that's why really part of the reason why I created the Women in the Arena, because it just speaks to, yeah, you're going to have all those fears and doubts about yourself. And what are you going to do with that? And how are you going to move through that? And how are you still going to move towards something that like creates that fire burn in your belly? And for you, you've had to deal with a lot of like external challenges too, being in a high profile position. So like our mutual friend, Justin, just to call him out, he'd be fine with it, but he shared that grade about the coaching hire when you were first hired. And it was like, man, that was ruthless. And then I remember us talking about how being in the SEC, I don't remember if you said this was something you had heard or read about yourself, how you would be too nice, quote unquote. So can you speak to hearing those things and how you kind of stay true to yourself amongst all of that?
Yeah, Justin will love that you brought up the grade because I think, trying to overcome that. I don't think he'll ever live it down. I actually forgot. My husband reminded me when the first interview I actually did with Justin McLeod, who does a really great job of covering our sport. But when I was hired here, he gave me a D or an F. I don't know what it was. It was like he was grading the hires of that summer. It was a really big summer. But when I got this job, I just kind of swore off all social media. I didn't look at any social media. I don't do a lot with it anyway. Paige can attest to that, as she was always trying to make me way cooler than I am. It's a uphill battle. I don't do a ton, and I just didn't think there was really going to be that many positive things. And I just didn't really want to invite that into that time or into like my mentality, because I knew that I could do it. I knew that I can do it, but I didn't think anybody outside my circle was going to share that feeling, because I didn't have the experience. I had been a head coach at Maryland for a year when I got the call from Arkansas. And I'm so mad at myself because when I got the first call, I was just like, why? They're like, we're interested in you. Like, you're on our list. And I was just like, why? And it was one of my friends, so I could speak a little bit more freely, but I didn't give myself enough credit in that moment. And I've been trying to be better at that as moving forward. But I didn't look at any social media because I'm like, no one's going to say anything positive outside of my circle. And quite honestly, I don't really care what they have to say. Like, I don't really care. I don't know these people. And I think that's kind of a lesson we all probably need to do better at, especially our student athletes, is like, why are you even giving them any power over what they think of you when you don't even know them? You wouldn't ask them for advice. They don't know anything about you. They just decide that they can have an opinion on you. And I just didn't think there would be any positive out there. So I just didn't look at it. But I remember in some of it, they were just like, oh yeah, people don't think you're going to make it in the SEC because you're too nice. And it just pissed me off, because I don't think being nice equates to being naive or weak. And they used it in a way of saying that I was too naive. I took it as a way of like, oh, you're too naive to make it at this level or with this amount of scrutiny. Or you're like, am I going to push the limits? No, I'm going to follow the rules. I'm going to do it the right way. I went into it being okay. If I don't make it doing it my way, I'm okay, because this isn't who I am. I don't know if that makes sense, probably for another time later in the conversation. But if I am too nice, if I follow the rules too much, if I treat people the right way too much, which isn't a thing, and we don't make it, then I'm going to be okay with that, because I'm going to do it my way and I'm going to do it to my best authentic self. I'm not going to push those boundaries and push those limits to get ahead. I just kind of think we came here with a way of like wanting to prove everyone wrong, and just kind of showing, yeah, actually you can treat people the right way and do it the right way and still advance a program and build a program and have success. And also you get to look at yourself at the end of the night and feel really good about how you did it.
You guys, when I first started my entrepreneurial journey, I had very few examples of women in leadership positions. And sometimes when I shared what I was building with my friends or with my coworkers at the time, they just didn't really get it. Even when I wanted to create some new goals and talk about those ambitions, I didn't feel like I had a community of women to share that with, which is why I found an online community of other multi-passionate, like-minded women. If you can relate, join us in our Rise Facebook community, where you get free weekly coaching, a network of amazing women who are also in the arena, and you're the first to know about the latest offers. Women leaders rise together. See you inside our Rise Facebook community. You can find the link in the show notes. I think it's fascinating that we do give so much weight sometimes to people that we wouldn't even go to for advice. I see that in the coaching world a lot. It's somebody starts this business. Like I remember starting this for the very first time and deciding that I was going to be a coach and it wasn't going to be an athletic coach. And I remember being so nervous to tell you, which, for anybody listening, she's so great and supportive, but I was terrified to say anything. And I remember saying something to my ex at that time and him saying, like, you're stealing money from people. This is a no-brainer. And I'm like, man, that really hurt. It hurt because I wasn't secure in myself yet in that position. It also was my responsibility to really be careful about who I shared that information with. And you shouldn't share your dream with somebody that just can't relate. It's not that they're a bad person. They just can't relate. Like if somebody's in a 9-to-5 that they hate and they're miserable, you sharing what you're doing is not going to be a great conversation. And so I'm glad that you touched on that because it is so valuable.
I mean, that's always interesting too, even at the level of being a college athlete. Our incoming athletes will ask, oh, do I live with softball players? If you live with someone that doesn't understand your grind, then they're not going to understand your life. And it's just tough because of just like-minded people. But anyways, that just resonated with me. When you live with a regular student that doesn't understand getting out at 6:15 or 6:30 to go lift weights, they're going to be like, what are you doing? Also, to go back to my really long answer, when I got this job, I was not their first choice. And I feel great saying that now because it's worked out really well. And I was the right choice for them. I stayed in it long enough. I don't even know what I was down the list, 10, 12. I have no idea. I'm glad that they chose me and it worked out really well. But I just think that sometimes we can get caught up in what things look like instead of just realizing what's good for you and what works. And this has worked out pretty well.
Yeah, because how easy would it be to talk yourself out of well, do I really qualify for this position if I wasn't their first choice? And I'm glad that you shared essentially what I heard was that you're just really solid in who you are as a coach, who you are as a person. And that doesn't mean that everything's all together all the time or you don't have your own insecurities or doubts or fears. We're humans. But I think at the end of the day, when you're really solid in who you are, it speaks volumes because then you can kind of hold on loosely to the things that you're doing in your life, whether that's your job or a program that you're building or even a podcast, for example. It's I'm not going to live or die off of the success of this. I'm just going to put my heart into it and do things the way that I think they should be done or the way that I would really enjoy listening to something, for example. And so I think that's just so huge that you share that because sometimes you just hold on so tightly to a result that it makes you lose sight of the process. And the sweet stuff is found in the process of being who you are and doing what you love.
And what's the point in harboring over all those things and it's not enjoyable and it should be an enjoyable journey?
Yeah. Well, okay. Going into the weeds a little bit or into the trenches, I should say. I mean, we work together very closely and what hit the fan more times than we can count. And that's just part of building a program. So was there ever a time where you felt like you hit rock bottom or you were so deep in the weeds that it was hard for you to see a way out? It was hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel? And then what helped you move forward, even if it meant taking baby steps or having to really just pinky finger on the tip of a cliff?
Oh, I don't know that I ever felt a rock bottom. I'm a relatively positive person, so I don't know what would get me to that space that I didn't feel like I could get out of or find a way out of. I will tell you a very nerving time and just feeling like I wasn't equipped was just kind of going through the pandemic when you're in the middle of season and everything's kind of taken away from you. And yet everyone's looking at you for guidance. And I didn't feel like I had any answers. My job is to have answers for this group and I had none. And you feel helpless. I think whenever you feel helpless is when you feel like you're at like the worst spot. And I think that we kind of found that we could kind of lean into each other and be okay not knowing and just kind of figuring it out together. But that was a crazy time. And that was a crazy time as a leader, and a crazy time when you're just feel like, oh, this group so much and you don't have it for them. It's just a crazy time. But I don't know about a rock bottom. I don't think. You might have one for me.
No. I just really meant what it felt like to be in your chair. Like I knew what it felt like to be on staff, but not in your chair in particular, where you do have to have the answers and your name is on the program. Like it just means more. Yeah. Something I feel like you taught me was, or something that I realized along the way in trying to get like jobs done for the program, is that nobody's going to care like you care. You can't exactly expect them to. And it's like people want to support you, want to support the program. Even me, I can't care as much as you did, even though I wanted to make you happy and I wanted to support the staff and the players. It's just so different. So that's really what I wanted to know, was like what it was like being in your chair.
I think that that's the piece that's the hardest, is that the hardest days are the days where you're kind of getting hit from a lot of angles. And ultimately, like what you said, we have really great people here. But when you start to feel like you're the afterthought, or you start to feel like when you're fighting for this team and you're not really feeling like you're getting the response that they deserve, and you're just kind of like wondering, okay, how do I get that? And you just feel like no one's hearing you and no one like recognizing that and acknowledging what you need. Those are the really frustrating days, because you are the voice for that, for the team. And you are the one that needs to fight for them. And so when you're just feeling like you're hitting a bunch of dead ends and you're not getting what you need, that's when you like want to bang your head in a wall. So I think that's the hard thing. Like no one's ever going to care as much about this program as me. I get that. Our staff, we're really, really close. If not like 1A, 1B, when you have all of a sudden you're working with someone that's not at that level, it's just incredibly frustrating. And it seems to just kind of hit it once, and you just kind of like need to take a step back and figure out how to reach people and get what you need. But those are the most challenging days, probably. And they all seem to hit it once. It's like, oh, then you're getting like an issue from here. And then it's just like, I know there's days I walk into the field finally and they're like, oh, you're having one of those head coaching days, huh? It's like, yeah. And usually it's just like, I'm glad you're in that chair, not me. It's like, okay, cool. All right, awesome. Let's move on.
I remember you just talking about the pandemic. I really like to feel like I'm on the inside when I listen to a podcast. And so I just go back to being in our softball offices and just you were on the phone, I think, with maybe Lou at the time from Georgia, because they were flying in and they were like sitting on the runway and waiting to take off, like waiting if we were going to play that series. Georgia was coming to Arkansas and we were going to play in was it the first conference series that year?
Oh, no, I think it was the second.
That's right. And yeah, and we were just in there thinking, okay, well, if they don't come here, what do we do this weekend? And then the thoughts just kept coming. Okay, then what? Yeah, it was just a really, really challenging time. So, I mean, incredible. Just kind of like looking back on our time together. And obviously, I don't want to make this about me, but I think it's really nice to hear just the impact that you've had on me and from an outside perspective for other people. I really like that you always said, for example, you would say, hey, I think we dropped the ball here, or we could do things differently. And no matter if that was directly my area or not, you always said we. And I felt like that was really important for me to hear, because it did feel like we were in this team together. And so not only was it a team, but it's also everybody has responsibilities in that team. And you always made it feel cohesive. And I never felt micromanaged. And I think those are themes that come up when I work with women in management or women in the corporate space. So was there somebody that you picked those things up from, or is there somebody that you feel like has been influential, or where did you get your style from, so to say, in some of those things I mentioned?
I think my style is a compilation of all my experiences. And so you learn a lot through all kinds of different experiences. Some of my early experiences were just what I would do, what I wouldn't do. And those are just as valuable or more valuable sometimes, because you're just kind of trying to navigate and find your own way that feels the most genuine, authentic to you. I like to observe and I like to learn. And so I also know what resonates with me and what worked with me. And so I think when it comes to I just don't ever want anyone to feel like I'm passing blame. You know, we are on a team, whether it's your responsibility or my direct responsibility, it's all of our responsibility. It impacts all of us. And so I just never wanted anyone to have the feeling that it was just theirs and their alone fault. There's just no point in pointing blame or finding faults when we all could be better. I do think that I've been intentional about talking to the team that way. Like, you guys, they won and we lost. It's like, you guys played great. You guys found a way to win. We need to be better collectively. We lost, and so it never feels like it's anyone's fault, but to celebrate the good. And no one wants to sit there and hear that it was coaches of why we won, So it's just kind of managing that dynamic and just always being really, really mindful of the language and how you talk and how you work together and just making everyone feel like they are like a part of the group. They are a part of the group and making them always feel that with everything that we do or say.
Yeah, I think you did that really well.
Until you feel like, oh no, she weed me again. She said we needed to do better here and she didn't do it. No.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think this would be kind of interesting to bring up. I remember specifically, we had a really, really big recruiting weekend and we had two of the top recruits in the country in town. It was also probably our biggest football weekend. And it was probably the most stressful weekend personally in my experience in our job outside of one other travel headache that you can probably guess. And I remember us meeting afterwards. And I think you said something like we met as a staff, but I obviously took like on-campus recruiting as like a really, really heavy part of, I cared a lot about it, right? Even though it was a team, I definitely felt like, okay, this has to go well and it has to be on me. And I remember leaving the meeting with you feeling like deflated, not because you had said anything about me directly, but I just remember feeling like, I don't know how we can do things differently with like the limited hands because we weren't another sport that had a lot of other help. And so I remember walking out of there feeling like, well, one, I had an attitude, but two, I really felt upset with myself and just kind of hopeless. Like, I actually don't have the answers about how I would make this better in what weekend I'm referencing maybe. So like in that moment, where's your head at? I mean, obviously we didn't get either of those recruits and you can always critique a lot of things that like fall through and you wish were different. But in those moments, what is your thought process? Like, what are you thinking?
In those moments, I am more so like knowing that I didn't do enough work on the front side to make sure we were all ready. And you also learn by things not going perfectly. So we never have that mistake again. And it just kind of, it always stinks to kind of like figure it out that way. When you feel like you've thought about everything, I want to know plan A, B, C, D, and then some, because very rarely does everything go exactly to plan. But when you're giving them, you have 48 hours to give these recruits a very clear picture of our program and who we are and what we do and all of those things. And things just keep slipping through because that's the snapshot that you're giving them. I never like to look like we don't have our crap together. And a lot of times when you're up against some bigger schools or staffs that have been together longer or whatever, you need everything to go as well as it can because you're trying to catch up with those. I know coming out of that weekend, I was upset that we didn't take the time on the front end to really walk through every detail. So it's more of a upset with myself, but also wanting everyone and not like you. I mean, some things that fell through the cracks that weekend was like our GAs didn't want to work as much. Okay, well, that's not an option. Okay, so making sure that we have clear expectations of what everyone's role is and making sure that that's completely mapped out. And so I don't think we've ever made that mistake again. Now, was that the deciding factor? Probably not. More often than not, it's not. But you just look at giving them the most perfect 48 hours that you can, because that's what they're going to take away is what your program is. Is it smooth? Do you guys work well together? Do you pay attention to detail? Do you do the little things? All those things that are really a big reflection of who we are. That's what I think we really worked into. And sometimes you just have to learn the hard way. You get better lessons that way.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, that is exactly what I think of when I think of women in the arena, is like just being willing to be on the playing field and not attached to like, okay, this is going to go perfectly, but knowing that even if it doesn't, you believe in yourself enough to stand up again or try again. And I appreciate you answering that. I feel like that was like it was definitely an on the spot question, but I do think it's very valuable to listen to somebody in a leadership position talk about their thought process, because I think the more that you can listen to that, you kind of get a big picture glimpse of the responsibility piece. And it's so obvious, like, yes, this is a 48-hour window and it's their only exposure to Arkansas, whereas you work there all the time. So there is a little bit more riding on that window. And so I appreciate you sharing the insights of that.
Yeah, I think we also have a tendency of personalizing everything. I think in general, women, it's like early in careers or as you go through different professions, when something go wrong, you take it personal. Like if an athlete doesn't like my style of coaching, I take it personally, or like it could be anything, you know? And so when you sit in those meetings and you really care, I personalize that like, okay, I didn't do enough. You left that meeting thinking you didn't do enough. Well, ultimately, we all sit in that room and we just really care. And so we all personalize it. Sometimes that's not healthy for us, but it's not necessarily personal. It's just like, hey, let's get our minds in this room and let's figure out how to be better. Because that's where we grow and that's where we become stronger and better. It's not just going to be rainbows and sunshine from the beginning all the time. And so it's just when we all kind of sit in that room and decide we're all in this together. We're all on the same team. We all have the same goal. It's to just make it the best we can. This is what went well. This is what didn't. Okay, let's move forward. And you kind of take the emotion out of that a little bit. You tend to take some of those things less personally and just try to be better moving forward, you know?
Yeah, no, I actually really appreciate you saying that personal aspect. I for sure walked out of that meeting like tail tucked, upset with myself, taking it personally, just like you said. And I think that's a challenge for women across the board. And it's hard not to do. When you put your heart into something, there's a lot more at stake for you. And so I appreciate you touching on that. My last question that I'm going to keep rolling as long as we're interviewing women in the arena is essentially, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to be a woman in the arena? And had you heard that term before?
Yes, vaguely. When I heard that that was going to be the name of your podcast, I like literally couldn't think of anything more perfect. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so good. I think that women that are in their arena should be really proud to be in there and just know that you're paving a way for others just to be like, this is like their authentic self and human. And I think a lot of times when we've talked like earlier and we don't feel like we're enough or we don't feel like we're adequate or we don't want to show our flaws, well, like that's all things that make us human and continue to build other women around us. And I think we all need to be better for the women around us. I think we need to give ourselves more grace and know that we are badasses. We need to do a better job of building up other women. I think that's what, to me, being in the arena is also building up the women around you so that there's more in there.
Yes, 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 yes. I love that. Thank you so much. And I just want to thank you again for your time and for the human you are and for the incredible leader and mentor and friend you've been in my life and continue to be, because I'll say we're both emotional. She's only emotional because she has kids. I'm emotional just because that's who I am. But I was going to say, it means so much to me because what you've shown is that it's beyond me working for you, because I mean, our friendship continues. And even when I said I was going to be a coach, you just were like there to cheer me on. And I never felt like you were like, oh, this could take away from your work at Arkansas. And for anybody listening that has a project or an idea on the side that you're thinking about, it can really bring in more creative juices and excitement for you. And then that can blend into your job. And so I do feel like I got better at my job as a result of it. I just can't thank you enough for the leader that you are, for like your family, for the program, for women like me, and just really excited to continue to stay in this journey together. So thank you again.
Thank you. I love you. And I think for everyone that knows Paige, you know that she's literally just walking sunshine. And so when you come in with an idea of wanting to do this and make a difference, like it's just radiating from you. And I would bet on you every day. So I love you. And I'm very, very thankful for you for being in my life and what you do on a daily basis.
Love you more. I hope today's episode inspired you on your journey in the arena. Make sure to check out the show notes in the description for a rundown of today's show with all the important links. If you enjoyed this, please share with a friend. I know how much it means to me when my friends share podcasts. Leave us a review and let us know what landed with you over on Instagram at Paige_Renee15. As always, your best bet is on yourself.